Rush hockey skates. Now on this channel, we've been making videos since 2008, and I honestly can't actively remember the last time I was able to introduce a new skate manufacturer to yourselves. Long gone are the days of the Botas skates, the MLX skates, the Eastern skates. These companies have either disappeared, fizzled out, or they've been acquired by another brand. So it's really, really rare that we get a new pair of skates. And let's be honest, it's a weird time where it's incredibly competitive to be able to release something like a skate in the day and age that we're in right now, but it also makes complete sense. But you do need to be quite ballsy to be able to do it, because manufacturing a skate, figuring out the foot last, figuring out the technologies, either having to work around patents or going through patents or creating your own patents is incredibly difficult in 2024. But the guys at Rush Hockey have done it. Now, these are a company that has been founded by Canadians, which makes complete sense because apparently Canadians know a thing or two about hockey, along with Taiwanese engineers, to essentially be able to bring this idea to light. These are prototypes. It says it all along the sides over there, so it's not a finished product, although I've told Rush Hockey to please consider this blacked out look, because I think it looks sick. The accents of blue with just like essentially a completely blacked out skate, I love that, and I don't really think these look similar to anything else that's out there. I might be wrong. When you see these skates, what comes to mind? Is there a particular skate model or brand that comes to mind? If you asked me at a glance, I would say these look like a Bauer skate has had a baby with a True skate. But that's just the way I look at it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment about the way they look, if you like the blacked out look, and maybe what skates these remind you of. Now, of course, while we're on the subject of these brand new prototype Rush skates, we can't forget about the stick curve t-shirts. I'm rocking the P28 because that's the curve that I use. We've also got P92. This is the gray. We've also got it in black. All of the links will be down below in the video description if you want to check them out. My personal favorite is the gray, but most of you seem to prefer the black. We've also added the hats at your request on Instagram. Make sure you check those out. All the links will be down below, shipping worldwide. Let's jump back into the video now. Now, dropping a new pair of skates in 2024 from a completely new manufacturer sounds a bit bonkers, but at the same time, some of the prices that we're paying for equipment, especially skates and sticks, has become a bit bonkers. Now, this isn't me taking a shot at the big manufacturers that are out there with their flagship models, the household names, because you guys probably know we work with pretty much, I say pretty much, we work with all of the big names that are out there, except one. We work with all of them. And I'm not by any means taking a shot at the prices that they charge for skates and sticks, even though in some cases it is bonkers. But when a company goes from a small company to a corporation and it's global, it's everywhere around the planet, it's on NHL players' feet or in NHL players' hands, and it's also accessible in every hockey store around the globe, and the size and number of employees that that corporation has grows over time, the price of the products is going to be affected by that. That's just how it goes. There's a lot of factors that have to be considered when you're shipping your product internationally, when you're having to go through different rules and regulations. Like, it sounds like it's me justifying it, but there is a lot that goes behind it, and it makes it very understandable to see prices increasing over time. Now, that's still not ideal, and some of the prices are bonkers. Perhaps they could pull them down a little bit, but that's, you know, that's a separate video that we could sort of touch on. Now, the bad thing about the bigger manufacturers is that I have never seen one of these large brands ever advertise any of the models of skates or sticks below the flagship models. It's always the most expensive and the newest that gets all of the face time in terms of on social media and in any commercials or material that they release publicly. The lower models are there, but you really have to dig and try and figure out how they're different from the flagship models to see if it's worth your time. Now, if you want to spend less on hockey equipment, manufacturers will essentially have lower price point products that are essentially targeted at people that want to spend less money, or people that maybe aren't on the ice as much, that aren't too built and heavy and don't require a skate to be incredibly stiff and have so many refinements and features. But what if you want something that has refinements, features and comfort, but don't want to pay flagship prices? That's where SMU products come in. But SMU products, they're a fusion of, say, like a mid-range product, but with some high-end flagship sprinkles on top of it. So some of the refinements that you see in the high-end flagship models get sprinkled on the SMU products, which are essentially a fusion of, you know, a mid-range and a top-spec skate coming together, but at a much more reasonable price. But these aren't available in Europe, and they're only available at select stores in North America. SMUs do need more focus generally online. I've said this lots of times. Now, I still feel like there is a gap that's being missed by a lot of these brands, and that's where a company like Rush Hockey are perfectly situated, because it's a skate that has a much softer construction than what we typically see in the flagship models that we're used to using, but it has the refinements, the features and the comforts that you would expect from a flagship model range of skates, but at not blow up your wallet prices, which is the most important point. Right now we're seeing stick manufacturers like KYC Hockey, which is a company that no one had ever heard of, who have produced a stick that is essentially, right now, the best stick that Tommy has used in 2024, which is insane. Now, what that shows us is now more than ever, there is a space for new manufacturers to enter the industry and provide a product that some of the flagship models or even the big manufacturers are simply not creating a product that caters to that audience. So entering the space as a hockey manufacturer in 2024, it can work, provided your product is cool in terms of the way it looks, the performance is justified in terms of the audience that you're trying to aim it at, if it's elite or if it's mid-range or if it's beer league, etc. And the price. If you can nail those three things, then you will do incredibly well, where some of the other bigger manufacturers are kind of like not catering for those audiences. And we're seeing this, it's a perfect example, KYC Hockey, they've done a great job of that. And I feel like Rush Hockey could also do the same thing if they nail the retail version of their skates that's going to be coming out. Okay, now let's take a look at how this skate has been built and its construction. Starting off with the blade, these have Rush's Black Cobra blades. Now, I didn't expect these to have black steel on them, so that was quite a nice surprise. When we move up from there, these skates do feature a quick release holder, which is quite a surprise. And these are a two-piece constructed skate, so they do feature an outsole that is a fully composite outsole. Now, when we move up into the actual boot or the quarter package of these skates, the construction of the shell of these skates is a composite material that is thermoreactive. So you can bake these, as I did mention earlier on in the video. I used them without baking them, baked them and then used them again. But it's definitely a softer construction than what we typically see, which is why these reminded me so much of the Ripcore range of skates from CCM. Now, when we move on to other elements of the skate, like of course the tendon guard, this reminds me most of the tendon guard that we saw on the Jet Speed range of skates from CCM. It's a flexible tendon guard. It's definitely not too flexible or too stiff. I feel like that does really allow you to get a good range of motion inside the skates. Now, when we look at the tongue, I mentioned earlier that I thought it was like a mix of what I saw on a Hazardous range of skates and also what I saw on the Adapt tongues from CCM's range of skates as well, fused together. The one thing that was missing on the tongue that I have over here is no metatarsal guard. Now, while the tongue was cushiony around the top sections of it, when you get down to the middle of the tongue where it comes into contact with the laces, as you're fully extending or striding, that's where it could definitely use a metatarsal guard, just to ensure that you don't experience pressure in that particular area of your foot, which is something that I did get in these skates. Now, since then, Rush have already adjusted that. The latest prototype skates have a proper metatarsal guard in the tongue, and the tongues are also interchangeable. They have a Velcro system that allows you to switch out the tongues, so you'll be able to adapt the sort of the thickness of the tongues that you go for, whether it's a case of increasing the volume that's inside the skate, decreasing it, or increasing protection, or increasing range of motion. You'll have the flexibility in the play to be able to do that with their removable and replaceable tongues. Now, when we go inside the skate and we take a look at their liners, which are called the Matrix foam liners, this is where I had a lot of similarities with those Ripcore range of skates from CCM. The liners, there was nothing I could really complain about. There was great comfort. The upper high ankle area, again, it had a closer fit to what I experienced in the Supreme range of skates, where it definitely doesn't have as much padding and as much wrap. As you get to the top, the neck of the skate, the foams kind of thin out as you get to Rush's version of the Comfort Edge. Now, Rush calls this their Aeroflex Edge, and it's much, much softer than what we see in a lot of the other skates that we typically use on the channel. It definitely relieves pressure at any point, so when you're kind of like striding, turning, stopping aggressively, you don't have to worry about pressure or pain in the top high areas of your foot. Also, taking a look at the footbed, it's really nice to see that they haven't just thrown a simple generic piece of foam inside there. There's some actual thought that's gone into producing and designing the footbed that's inside these skates. It's incredibly comfortable. The front portions of it are your traditional foams that you get in footbeds, but when you go to the rear of it, it's much stiffer. It sits a little bit more elevated to put you at a good position on the ice, and it really helps to lock your foot inside these skates. Your heel is locked, it doesn't slip, it doesn't slide, which is something that I definitely enjoyed using these skates. I always say, if you don't see the footbed when I review a pair of skates, it means that it's just a simple foam footbed. This one has a little bit more to it, which is always good to see. And of course, it's worth also touching base on the toe box or the toe cap of these skates. It's pretty comparable to what we see from a lot of the brands that are out there. I'd say maybe some of the Bauer skates might have a slightly lower profile toe box, but if you're to compare it to some of the CCM skates that are out there and also True, it's of comparable sizes. I didn't find that there was too much negative or unwanted space inside there, but overall the width and also the height of it was really comfortable. Now, when we look at the pitch of the skates, in terms of how much they put you over the balls of your feet, the closest to these skates is definitely going to be the Jet Speed range of skates from CCM or the Vapor range of skates from Bauer. Things like the Supremes, the Catalyst from Trues, those are much more aggressive in forward pitch, whereas the Jet Speed is much closer to what we see over here. Some of the changes that have been already made to the Rush hockey skates based on the feedback received from players is going to be a molded PU protection cover from the first eyelet all the way down where the stitching of the skate is to where the toe box is, to essentially improve the durability of the skate. From there, like I said earlier on in the video, they've added a metatarsal guard and also Velcro changeable tongues to the skate. And in addition to this, they've also changed the top surface of the insole or the footbeds so it doesn't delaminate as quickly as some of the versions that they've had in the prototype skates that players have been testing. But like I said, Rush is still in the process of receiving information and feedback and further making alterations to the prototype skates ahead of the retail ready version that's coming very shortly. Now, overall skating experience inside these skates, I would say that these are closest to a Bauer boot in terms of the way that they felt on the ice. The fit and the foams were close to a Ribcore range of skates, but the actual on-ice performance really reminded me of a Supreme Bauer skate. Not the shadows, just a Supreme Bauer skate in how it felt to turn, to stop, to just essentially stride and skate. The performance in these skates is definitely something that's complemented by the fact that it's a softer construction. This will be a lot more forgiving on a wider range of players than a skate that is incredibly stiff and rigid. That allows you to move around more freely on the ice if you're the type of player that can benefit from this softer construction, which a large portion of recreational players definitely fall into that market. But of course, if you are a player that needs the stiffest possible skate that you can possibly get, perhaps these might not be the skates that you need to be looking at. But if you're the type of player that would do well with having a slightly softer construction on a skate, then this is a great place to start looking. I felt like Rush Hockey have nailed a lot of elements inside this skate. The foams are really good quality. In terms of the footbed or the insole, I'm really surprised to see that it's not just a simple floppy bit of foam that's been thrown inside the skate. It does have some performance benefits and it does help to keep your heel planted and locked inside the skates. The flexible tendon is always appreciated. The tongue, of course, with a metatarsal guard will be a big improvement in what we have over here, but we will look at that later on once we actually get the full retail ready pair of these skates. But so far, Rush Hockey have hit a lot of boxes with this prototype skate, but overall, a lot of surprises in this skate, and I'm really keen to see what the final retail version is like. But if you've got any questions, any suggestions, please do leave your comments down below in the comment section down below. Of course, I will link Rush's website so you can check out what they offer, because they also offer gloves, they also offer sticks, which are going to be products that we take a look at later on down the line. But so far, keen to see what they come up with next. Let me know what your feedback is, let me know what you change on this skate, and let me know what you guys want to know for the full review when we go into real ins and outs of these skates and maybe VS them against skates that are going to be at a similar price point. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.